I'm JP Tuesday.
And I'm Kiki Cannon. As lifelong Disney fans, the work of countless talented Disney creatives have shaped our lives.
Now, as the Disney catalog expands, we're taking a journey through film and television to discover if that spark that shaped us as children lives on in adulthood.
Does your favorite Disney media still cast that same spell? Join us as we find out. We are Rewatching the Magic.
Hi, Kiki.
Hi, Tuesday.
Are people born wicked? Or do they have wickedness thrust upon them? That is not the movie we're watching this week. But that's the reason we're doing this movie this week, right, Kiki?
Yeah, we wanted to do a movie that was popular, but instead you made me watch Oz the Goofy and Terrible.
Great and powerful.
Whatever.
So yeah, while a lot of people are going to be defying gravity in theaters with the Wicked musical movie coming out, we decided let's take a look at the last time a major studio tried to do a Wizard of Oz prequel movie. And yeah, Disney's Oz the Great and Powerful. Disney has a history with the Wizard of Oz. We've previously discussed this when we talked about Return to Oz, oh so long ago. For those of you who may not have heard that episode, I'm going to kind of go through the quick and dirty history of Disney and the Wizard of Oz and their history together, because it's a lot of it. So, of course, back in 1900, L. Frank Baum publishes The Wizard of Oz. You know that book. We jump to 1933. Disney does The Three Little Pigs. And it really pushes you can take a classic fairy tale story, make it a theatrical release, and it'll be popular. Which pushes Disney to release Snow White in 1937. So right after the release of Snow White, Walt Disney himself wants to do his next movie, and one of the movies he wanted to do was The Wizard of Oz. So Disney contacts the Baum estate to get the rights to The Wizard of Oz, and they've already been sold to MGM because one of the heads of MGM went to go see The Three Little Pigs in 1933 and says, hey, I have an idea. Let's take another classic fairy tale and make it a movie. Disney's own success bit him on the butt. So just a few years after Snow White, of course, we get 1939. MGM releases The Wizard of Oz, the Judy Garland movie, the movie everybody knows. Fast forward into the 1950s. This newfangled device, Kiki, I don't know if you've heard about this. They have this newfangled device called television. Have you heard about it?
It sounds vaguely familiar. I don't know. I just watch YouTube.
So yeah, television is a brand new thing, and you can watch movies at home. Can you imagine watching movies at home? And older movies are getting new audiences because now a whole new generation are seeing them for the first time, and they don't have to go to a theater to see it. So The Wizard of Oz, now airing on television, gets a new audience. This new audience gets renewed interest in the Oz books. So the Baum estate now is putting up the remaining Oz books. L. Frank Baum wrote 14 Oz books in his lifetime. So
I never made it through all of them.
Yeah, 14 Oz books, and
I made it through a bunch of them, mind you, but I never made it through all 14.
Yeah. So all of them were now up for studios to purchase and make their own Oz movie because Oz is popular now because of Wizard of Oz being on television. Disney, being the petty man that he is, buys the rights to every single one. Obviously, he couldn't get the rights to the original because that's still at MGM, but he got every other one.
Hey, 13 out of 14 ain't bad.
Yep. On his TV show, makes the announcement that he's going to make his own Wizard of Oz movie starring
With
the
Blackjack and
with
no.
his own movie with the cast of the Mickey Mouse Club. Because the Mickey Mouse Club was like one of the most popular TV shows on TV at the time. So let's take these popular kids, let's put them in a movie. The Rainbow Road to Oz. The sketch where they announced a movie, you can actually watch that on YouTube. They never made the movie. It was supposed to be a TV movie, and then it was supposed to be a theatrical movie, and then they never did anything about it. The movie never happened. But that is a weird what if, you know? Number one, what if Disney got the rights to Wizard of Oz before MGM did? And two, what if Disney did their Wizard of Oz sequels in the 1950s with the cast of the Mickey Mouse Club? Disney retained the rights to these books for a while. Fast forward to 1985, and we get Return to Oz.
The greatest Oz movie ever made.
The scariest Oz movie ever made. Go back to our episode where we talk about that.
And that's gonna stick in Sam Raimi's craw.
Yeah. So yeah, a producer named Walter Murch wanted to make his first ever feature film, was working with Disney. They asked him, what kind of movie do you want to make? And Mark says, I wanted to make a sequel to The Wizard of Oz that was more accurate to the books. Hey, we have the rights to the Wizard of Oz characters. Let's do that. And they did. And Return to Oz came out with Fairuza Balk. And it bombed because people were complaining that it wasn't enough like the 1939 movie, even though the point was to not be the 1939 movie. We'll circle back to this. Fast forward to 1995. An author named Gregory Maguire writes a book called Wicked, The Life and Times of the Wicked Witch of the West. Because at this point, the Oz characters are public domain. Anyone can write an Oz book if they wanted to. So he did. And he wrote a prequel to The Wizard of Oz, showing the life and times of the Wicked Witch all the way up until her death by Dorothy in a bucket of water. And pretty much as soon as it got published, Universal Pictures picks up the book and wants to turn it into a movie. But the movie is stuck in developmental hell. That is, till 1998, 1999, I'm kind of fuzzy on the details. A Broadway composer, Kiki, you may have heard of this guy, Stephen Schwartz, was on vacation and he went into a bookstore and saw a copy of Wicked, bought it, read it, and said, I need to turn this into a show. But of course, Universal already had the rights to the book. Stephen Schwartz, for those of you who don't know, he has a Disney connection, Hunchback of Notre Dame. You know, he wrote songs for that. So yeah, he wrote Hellfire.
So
Also,
if you want to know why Wicked just bangs so hard,
that's it. You know,
that's it.
So he goes to Universal. He pitches his idea. Since the movie is stuck in developmental hell, they don't know what to do. They let it happen. 2003. Wicked the Musical premieres on Broadway. The Untold Story of the Witches of Oz. And it is a smash hit. The musical sells out. The album is topping the charts. It is breaking records. It would have won a Tony if Avenue Q had not had a really, really good campaign.
And also just been like a really awesome show.
Yeah.
Damn you, Lopez's.
But due to the musical's popularity, due to Wicked's popularity, Universal decides to abandon its original plan of being a more direct adaptation of the novel to being an adaptation of the musical. Okay, this is we're back at Disney here. 2005. Disney releases The Muppets Wizard of Oz. We'll talk about that next year.
Oh, you were writing checks for us already, huh?
Well, we're getting Wicked Part 2 next year, so I'm planning ahead. Fast forward to 2013, 10 years after the Broadway release, Disney decides we can't have the rights to Wicked because they're at Universal. We're going to make our own Wicked with,
Blackjack and yeah, okay.
ladies of the evening. And they get Sam Raimi to direct. You know, the Evil Dead guy, the Spider-Man guy.
My nemesis.
Yeah, and if you've watched other movies we've done of Sam Raimi on this podcast, like, Multiverse of Madness, Kiki's not the biggest fan of Sam Raimi's films. And I think I will leave it there.
Oh, why do that?
So yeah, Raimi, as the story goes, was kind of originally not interested in doing the movie because he didn't want to touch the Wizard of Oz because he didn't think his version of the Wizard of Oz would not be able to compare to the 1939 movie.
Smart choice. Go with that. Go with that feeling. It's a good gut feeling.
Until they told him it was a prequel. And he could do whatever he wanted. Like, well, this is 20 some odd years before Dorothy ever came to Oz. So you're not stepping on anything that already exists. This is a prequel. And he said yes. As for who would play our wizard, there was a few ideas. The person that Disney wanted was Robert Downey Jr. And he said no. And then Disney asked him again, and he kept saying no. Imagine the
only person in this story that had really good instincts.
So imagine the alternate universe where this movie starred Robert Downey Jr.
And was directed by Sam Mendes, who was also up for the director's spot in this.
So with Downey out, Disney went to someone who had done a lot of good for Disney at this point, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was interested. Johnny Depp was almost the wizard in this movie. He had a scheduling conflict because he was filming another movie, The Lone Ranger. I wonder when we're getting to that.
You've tortured me enough for 1 month. Let's just make it through this.
So yeah, he bowed out of this movie because he wanted to do The Lone Ranger. So Raimi decided, hey, we can get James Franco. He's my buddy. I've worked with him on Spider-Man. We can make this movie with him. Famous last words.
James Franco, who you may know as a bad actor and a worse person.
All I'm saying is, I don't think those two have worked together since this movie, which tells you a lot.
Speaking of people who weren't supposed to work together anymore, the music for this movie, Danny Elfman. I don't know if we talked about it when we did our Spider-Man stuff, because we didn't technically talk about Spider-Man 2 officially, but we did kind of touch on it a little bit when we did our Spider-Man retrospective. But Danny Elfman did the score for the first Raimi Spider-Man movie and the second one. And something happened during the production of Spider-Man 2, and I can't exactly remember what all happened at the time. They had such a bad time making that movie together that Danny Elfman swore he would never work with Sam Raimi again. And that held until this movie, and I don't know what made him change his mind and do this movie.
Disney money talks a lot.
Maybe.
So yeah, we've talked about James Franco as, oh boy, they actually use his full name. Now, this is the wizard's actual name. This is the name he was given by L. Frank Baum. Hopefully I can say it without screwing it up. Oscar Zarastu Vanderig Isaac Norman Henkel Emmanuel Ambrose Diggs.
You almost got there.
I almost got there.
Most of those were correct. Good job.
Oz Pinhead.
Yeah.
That's the joke. Is that as a kid, Oscar Diggs was called Pinhead because part of his initials spelled Pinhead. So he just called himself Oz.
Yeah.
And he actually does say his full name once in the movie too. This movie pulls a lot of the fundamentals from the 1939 movie because we have characters from the real world becoming characters in Oz, such as our good witch Glinda, Michelle Williams, also playing Annie Gale, the mother of
she plays Annie, who says she got a marriage proposal from a John Gale, and she's wearing gingham, so we're just supposed to kind of assume maybe.
This may or may not be Dorothy's mother.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we're supposed to think, because Baum never gives us Dorothy's parents' names. She just lives with, Auntie M, and yeah. So
it should have been Emily. Her name should have been Emily. But I think that would have been too much. That would have been too much of a giveaway.
Well, yeah, I mean, the fact that he was just, in love with somebody in Dorothy's family, Dorothy, I could have been your daddy, I don't know. Weird.
So, yeah. The second crossover character, we have Zach Braff as Finley the Winged Monkey, and Frank, Oscar's assistant in the real world. And to hammer it home, Oscar does call Frank, "You're nothing but a trained monkey."
That's how you know this is a good movie, because see, they foreshadowed that. They foreshadowed that bit in the movie, because earlier in the movie he calls him a monkey, and then when he gets to Oz, it's a monkey and is voiced by the same guy. So that's how you know it's a super smart movie.
And our third crossover character, Joey King, as the China girl with broken legs, who also plays a girl in a wheelchair in the real world.
Who for some reason thinks that a magician at a carnival can heal her legs.
Well, she made someone float in a parlor trick, so obviously he has real magical powers and can make her walk.
I mean, I'm sorry, but people, yes, people have always been stupid, but not everybody was that stupid, even in the 30s.
Mm-hmm.
There are still people who believe in, magic, spirit healers and stuff today. So, people have always been stupid and people are always going to be stupid. But, the fact that, everybody in this tent is yeah, dude that does sleight of hand tricks, that even in the 30s you could buy books about that.
He produces one.
Because he has one. We see that in the, it wasn't as obvious now. They didn't have, masked magician tells all his secrets, But, even in the 30s, it was kind of common knowledge that, these people are stage performers. They're not real magic, That wasn't the focus of his show. So, yeah, okay, I can get the little girl going, you made a lady float, make my legs work, because she's like 12 or something, and she lives in Nowheresville, and at the time, little girl in a wheelchair, probably not getting a lot of schooling, but like literally all the adults in the tent being like, yeah, you can heal a girl. What the hell, people? That's on you. That's on you, people in the tent.
Yeah. I think they just wanted to crap on Oscar because hey, we saw the woman hanging by a wire thing. Huh.
I mean, it's a good trick at the start.
It is. I mean, it's a trick that's still being performed by magicians today.
Yeah, and it's a good bait and switch.
Hmm.
I will give this movie one thing, and I will echo the sentiments of, we've mentioned him before when we talked about these movies, but shout out to Eisenhart Productions over on YouTube, who does the wonderful series about Disney's failed next big thing, because he did a great video on this movie in particular. And one of the things he says is that the first chunk of this movie, when they're in the real world, or I don't want to say the real world, because in the books, Oz is real, and this movie does more like the books. In the Judy Garland movie, the Oz is like, oh, it was all a dream, and you were there, and you, and. But as we discussed in Return to Oz, Oz is a real place in the books. It is a place you can go to and come back from, and it is just as real as our Earth. But yeah, the stuff that takes place in like Kansas is really interesting. And as far as this movie goes, I had a couple of laughs out of it. And it was a good setup, and it kind of, I mean, Oscar is a douchebag, and you don't like him, but he is kind of a compelling character for that first like 15 minutes or whatever
Yeah, I mean,
that you're in Kansas.
yeah, his whole thing is, he is a illusionist. He believes himself that why am I here in middle of nowhere, Kansas? I should be on the grand stage performing.
Yeah, he should be on the Orpheum circuit. Dang it.
You know,
And
I don't want to be a good man. I want to be a great man. That's the phrase
Annie.
he says to Annie. That's the phrase he says to Annie when Annie says, "You are a good man." No, I don't want to be a good man. I want to be a great man. My father was a good man, and he got nowhere. I want to be a great man. I want to be on the world stage. I want to be famous.
And the thing is that from what we see of his stage show, he is too good for the places he's playing. His show is better than his bookings.
And it's seemingly a lot better than the other acts at the circus. And again, it's same. I mean, it's standard 1900s era circus acts. Like here's the strong man, and here's our Annie Oakley cosplayer, and stuff like that.
Yeah, here's a couple of, low rent dancer showgirls, and here's a random clown, and here's a, fire breather, and
Yeah.
your normal 1930s circus acts. But the way that it is, and now I will fight anybody up to and including the man himself, that Sam Raimi is not and has never been a good director. But the start of this movie is better directed and better acted than the stuff once we get to Oz.
Because it's an actual set with actual props. The rest of the movie is a empty lot with a blue screen. If you've seen the behind the scenes stuff of this movie, all of the Oz stuff is in a soundstage with a blue screen, and everything else is CG.
Well, this is also soundstage, but they built more of the set. It's not, I mean, the stuff kind of in the far distance, the sky and stuff is still kind of keyed in back there, but because it's black and white, it's less offensive.
Yeah, that's another thing we have to do. It does do like the 1939 movie, where the beginning of the movie is in black and white, and then when we get to Oz, it goes to color, with the added notion of the aspect ratio of this movie. The aspect ratio in the beginning parts of the movie is 4:3. That's how you would have watched The Wizard of Oz on television when in the 1950s. But when we get to Oz, when the color comes in, the aspect ratio goes to the standard widescreen aspect ratio.
Yeah, and I will point out that this film, it is black and white. It is gray tone. The original Wizard of Oz film was sepia tone for the Kansas shots. It is shades of brown. It is not black and white. And then it is the full spectrum of Technicolor once you are. So they never shot it on black and white film. They shot it on Technicolor film the whole way through, but it is sepia tones in the beginning. A common misconception, but it is one of the more interesting things in film history.
Even that part in the original film where NTM appears in the witch's crystal ball from Kansas, it's still in sepia tone.
Yeah, it is fascinating that if you're into really nitpicky film stuff, the way they did the color in that film was such a technical marvel at the time. However, because this is one of the things that we kind of didn't get into, but we really need to get into because it's going to become more and more important as we go through this. This movie had to tap dance around copyright issues with MGM so hard. Because we've talked before about how Disney and MGM used to have a good relationship, and then they didn't. And this was after the time when they didn't.
So yeah, the Disney MGM Studios. People still refer to that park as Disney MGM Studios. And at the time, The Wizard of Oz was owned by MGM. It wasn't until like somewhere in the 80s where MGM sold pretty much their entire back catalog to Ted Turner, because MGM was going through some hard times. Turner had money, bought their entire back catalog, and then Turner sold his entire empire to Warner Brothers, which is why Wizard of Oz and pretty much the entire pre-1980s MGM film catalog owned by Warner Brothers now.
Yeah. But by the time they made this movie, rights and stuff like that to the original Judy Garland film, very touchy, especially when it came to Disney. Do not touch these particular things. And even though Sam Raimi kind of only came onto the film because, like, okay, we don't want you to remake The Wizard of Oz. They also wanted him, it seems, to skirt that copyright line as closely as he could.
Like I said, Return to Oz, one of the biggest complaints from critics at the time was that it was too different to the Judy Garland film. So making this movie, they kind of flipped the other way and trying to make it as close in tone to the Judy Garland film without breaking the law.
And what this really necessitated was that there had to be a giant group of lawyers in basically constant negotiation, from my understanding, of this is okay, that crosses a line, yes to this, no to that, okay, this will be fine as long as you turn it 90 degrees to the side, that kind of thing.
They had a long meeting over the shade of green of the witch.
And that's not the only one. The Wicked musical, when it went to stage, also had to have that same meeting. That Margaret Hamilton portrayal is so copyrighted, every bit of that. The sculpt of the chin, the sculpt of the nose, the fact that she has a mole on part of her face, the exact shade of green, the exact way her hat points. I'm not kidding. Every single part of that costume and look is copyrighted in some form. And you cannot, the colors from the original set, the exact shade of the yellow brick road, the type of green in the Emerald City, all of it.
Even when they did Return to Oz, the color of the ruby slippers.
Yeah.
It's a specific shade of red for the 1939 movie. They were allowed to use the ruby slippers because, like you said, Kiki, at the time of Return to Oz, MGM and Disney had a good relationship, so they were allowed to use the ruby slippers as long as they were a different shade of red.
This movie got around the slippers because they did not even have them in the film. They swapped them for an emerald necklace. The emerald necklace that the Wicked Witch wears in this movie, that is the source of her power, that's actually supposed to be the slippers.
And they give it to all the witches. The Witch of the East, Evanora, the source of her power is an emerald necklace. Theodora, our Wicked Witch of the West, the source of her power is a ring. And of course, Glinda has a magic wand.
Yeah, so the one that they call Evanora, who is never named in the books, she's the one that gets the house dropped on her in the movie and the books, She's the one that Dorothy gets the shoes from in the original movie. In the books, they are silver slippers. Now, that didn't show up very good on Technicolor, if you know anything about the story, so they had to change it to ruby slippers for the 1939 film. So the ruby slippers themselves are I think those are copyrighted.
Yeah.
So just to get around the do you do silver slippers or ruby slippers, they just were like, we're not even doing shoes in this one.
I mean, skip ahead. The emerald necklace gets destroyed at the end of the movie. Had this got a sequel, we probably would have had her get the shoes to give her new powers.
Yeah, if we had ever gotten to the point where they met up with Dorothy, she would have probably found herself some magic shoes. But yeah, that's the way they got around it in this movie.
And of course, I'll throw it out there since people will probably say it. In Muppets Wizard of Oz and in The Wiz, which I haven't even mentioned yet because it's not relevant, but yeah, in The Wiz, they went with the original silver shoes.
Even with all that, it's so bizarre that they chose to crib so much from the 1939 movie. Like, yes, I know that that's kind of why everybody really knows this story. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
not a lot of people these days have really read the Oz books.
Not even you. You haven't even read all of them.
Well, I haven't read all of them because there's 14 of them. Come on. And they get really weird. I'm just going to put that out there. They get weird. You think Return to Oz is weird? Those books get weird.
Transgender princess. That's all I'm saying. Transgender princess.
That's not even the weirdest thing in those books. That's like really normal for those books. But a lot of people just, they're not, the books aren't as popular anymore. But I wonder, who wants to sit in a meeting with lawyers that nitpicky, Like, why not just be like, you know what, we're just going to do the stuff from the books instead? Because
I think, that's another problem. It's like they do so much to, like you said, Sam Raimi did not want to remake The Wizard of Oz, but he had no problem emulating so much of the visual cues of that movie.
And also a bit from Wicked, which is not a prequel to, the Wonderful Wizard of Oz or whatever, the first book is called. It's the prequel to The Wizard of Oz, the 1939 film. It mostly cribs from the movie and then fills in the rest with the books,
Yeah.
In the books, the Wicked Witch of the West is like a tiny little hunched over old lady with one eye and like pigtails. And it's not until the movie that she's green for some reason.
Was Green Witches a thing prior to the 39 movie?
Yeah, I'm not really sure where exactly they got it from. I don't remember. But the thing is that she's not even, the Wicked Witch is just like a side quest in the book.
And in the movie, they made her the main antagonist.
Yeah, because I guess they didn't find the Gnome King that, like, fascinating or whatever. They were like, kids are into witches more or something,
I don't know if they would have even known how to have done the Gnome King in 1939.
Yeah, it's probably just easier to do witch iconography than, whatever the Gnome King is.
I mean, for Return to Oz, the Gnome King was a combination of an actor in makeup and stop motion animation.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't even like throw an eye patch on Margaret Hamilton or whatever in the original movie. But they're like, let's paint her green. I guess maybe the green was probably just to be like, we're doing this in Technicolor, put color on everything. You know?
Yeah. I mean, color was, we want to make this as colorful as possible. So, Oscar here, as you said, he's kind of a jerk. And I think that's what holds him back, is because he's kind of a jerk. He's a jerk to the people who work with him. He's a jerk to the other circus performers. He has elaborate lies and stories to pick up women.
It's not elaborate lies and stories. It's the exact same lie.
The story changes, though. He has a whole closet of music boxes, and he makes up a story. This belonged to my mother. She was a war veteran. This was, this
No,
came
it's
down.
always the same story. It's my grandmother. She was a Tsarina. She was a war veteran. The only time he seems to change up is if you know what Kreplock is, like.
So yeah, he does it to his new assistant so he can, have his way with her. And it kind of bites him in the butt because he apparently is also having relations with the strong man's wife.
Maybe not the smartest of moves.
And so the strong man kind of goes after him. He jumps into the balloon as they're tearing down the circus, and a twister. Had to get that one out there.
It is Kansas.
And he ends up going into the tornado, and he ends up in Oz. Did it need to be a twister? I don't know. I mean, the twister was only in the first book, and Dorothy ends up going to Oz the other times, other ways. But I will say, like you said, the opening 20 minutes of this movie, which is completely in black and white and completely in 4:3 aspect ratio, is actually pretty good. It's showing, who this guy is, who Oscar Diggs is, and how he could be a better person if he tried. He just doesn't want to try. It is only when he is about to die, as his balloon is in this twister, where he says, I'll change. I'll be a better man. Just please, God, don't let me die. We do get an over the moment, but it's not over the rainbow. It's over the twister. Because he gets spit out of the top of that twister, and he's in Oz.
I mean, we do get rainbows, because when he kind of lands in the river, he's surrounded by the rainbows that form in the mist from the waterfalls. So they do a little nod to that. It's not great because once we land in Oz, after that first 30 seconds of transition to widescreen and color, after that point, everything in this film looks like absolute crap.
CGI nightmare fuel.
Because it's not good CGI. It's like, were you on such a time crunch that you just had to accept everybody's first draft CGI?
The compositing is also bad. Like I said, all of Oz is blue screen. If you look at pictures on set, it's just a set. The walls are blue. Everything else
Floor is blue, ceiling's blue.
yeah. It's if you ever see the behind the scenes pictures and videos of the Star Wars prequels, it's the same thing. The entire set is a empty room with blue walls, blue ceiling, blue floor.
Yeah, they did build parts of sets for Oz, but it's really only stuff the actors had to physically touch. If they had to sit in a chair or lean against a wall or whatever, they built that thing, and everything else is just a blue box.
And like I said, the compositing, the compositing just looks bad because, like, you can look at a movie from a few years prior to this that's done on blue and green screen, and it looks better.
You can look at the Star Wars prequels and it looks better. Go back and look at Episode 1 and the compositing is done better.
Because these look like bad Photoshop. If you take like jamesfranco.png and put it on top of your CG homework that you're doing for computer class, that's what it looks like. No, and they don't even do anything with like the shading or anything.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I have seen better work in YouTube videos like from that time. I'm not even talking about with the newer tools.
Stuff that you can get open source on the internet.
And I feel bad for like crapping on the CGI artists and stuff because I'm like 1000% sure that they were not given enough time or money or both.
We need to get this movie released by this date because Wicked the movie is rumored to come out within the next year. And then it didn't. And then it's 2024 and here's finally the movie.
I also heard that the budget for this movie was cut somewhere along the line.
Wouldn't doubt it.
So usually when stuff like that happens in the middle of production, the post-production is what suffers. And that's probably what happened if I had to put a guess, but that's just a guess. Once again, I'm cribbing from Eisenhart Productions notes because that's an excellent video. Please go watch it. But he does point out that like the second we land in Oz, everything about the movie just feels unreal in a bad way. Not like in a, ooh, we're in a magical space, but like, oh, this looks awful and I don't want to be here and I don't want to be watching this movie anymore.
The acting is over the top in a bad way. I've heard
we're not talking Tim Curry is having fun here.
We're talking James Franco may have taken some substances before he got on set. Probably Mila Kunis too.
There are actors in this movie that I don't have anything against. I always say that like a film rots from the top down. And we talked about it when we talked about let's go back to, we've already made the connection. Let's go back to, episode 1 there. Lots of good actors in there that don't act very well. And it's like, George Lucas just isn't a good director of actors.
Yeah,
and
we've talked about this. Lucas is a good idea man, and that's kind of it.
Yeah. And I'm gonna say, I don't think Sam Raimi is a good director of anything, Mm-hmm. There are actors he works well with because they are good actors who are good in anything they're in and just happened to be friends or relatives of his.
Oh yeah, we didn't mention him. Ted Raimi's in here.
Yeah, you can't really tell it's him unless you know it's him. Because they cut out any shots of his face, really, and he's putting on a silly voice. But he's the guy that screams, "It's a wire! I see a wire!" That's Ted. Hi, Ted.
Bruce Campbell's in here as one of the Winky Guardsmen in heavy makeup.
You can always tell when Bruce Campbell is in a Sam Raimi movie because he's the guy getting smacked. That's not your friend, dude. It's not your friend. But as far as just, the general acting in the film, like with most films, and I'm sure we mentioned this when we talked about the Doctor Strange movie, and probably about Spider-Man too. There's good actors, and then suddenly they're not giving a good performance, and you're like, why are they not giving a good performance? Exhibit A. So there's actors in here that, are good actors and have won awards, and not coming through here. And I feel so bad for Michelle Williams in every scene she's in.
I was going to mention Michelle Williams because she's a really good actress.
I do like Michelle Williams' performances in other things she is in. And in this movie, it feels like her first time stepping out of community theater and into a professional production.
I think much like the prequels, it's a situation is these people need something to act off of, and they're acting off an empty room.
Oh my God, yes.
And there are times where you have to question, are these actors even in the same room?
Yeah, sometimes you wonder if these people are in the same physical space as each other or if they were filmed separately.
Because there's quite a number of body doubles for the main cast, the main four, if you watch the credits. So it makes me wonder, were these actors kind of not around each other as much as we think they are?
One of the things I'm talking about, things being on set and not there and looking awful and stuff. One of the things that I learned from that Eisenhart production video, and it makes me angry, there is the character in here of the China doll, which is a good idea for a character, the way they use it. And honestly, I'm going to say I don't know if this character is in the books. It's not one I recognize. So if it's a character in the books, I've either forgotten about it with my, Dory brain, or I didn't get to the book that the character's in. But the character of the China doll is really a cool idea of a character, and they built life-size marionette that were on set and being puppeteered, and you can see behind the scenes footage. There was actually a physical marionette there on set for the actors to interact with for almost all the shots. There are a couple of shots that I was like, there couldn't have been anything there, because there are a couple of times, like when Glinda goes to pick up the China doll or whatever, and there's literally no weight to what Glinda is doing. Like, Michelle Williams just kind of moves her hands and there's nothing there to give a sense of weight and stuff. And I'm like, even if you had just like a marionette puppet in your hand would react to like even a couple of ounces of weight that marionette would give. And her hands just like float through the air as if she's touching nothing. And the CGI doesn't really fit. But like, they had these like beautiful marionettes with this gorgeous puppetry, including animatronic eyes. The eyes would like move and blink and stuff. And it looked gorgeous in all the behind the scenes footage I've seen of it. And then instead of just like removing the marionette strings or whatever in post, they completely removed the marionette itself in post and CGI'd over it with a character that looks completely fake and like it isn't occupying the same reality.
Now, this is 2013. 2 years prior, they did the Muppets, and all they did was digitally remove the arm rods.
Which I am still against.
They could
Stop digitally removing the arm rods on the Muppets.
They could have easily digitally removed the strings from the marionette.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that that's what the poor puppeteer who put in like hundreds of man hours to create these marionettes and then spent who knows how many more man hours on set actually puppeteering and taking direction on how to do this performance.
Wearing a head-to-toe blue suit, covered his entire body, face and all.
Just so they could CGI over his entire performance. That is an actor. I mean, puppeteers are actors. Let's not tiptoe around that. This is an entire performer that they have edited out of the movie, as well as a physical, effect. And knowing that makes me so angry when I see the final product.
Because they would have paid. They had to have paid for that puppet to be built. And they built 2 marionettes for this movie. So that's puppet times 2, also paying for this puppeteer to perform this, to pay even more money to digitally remove the marionette and create a CG model.
That looks so much worse. Like, even if they'd have just left a blue-suited dude operating a marionette alongside the actors, it would have looked better than what they ended up with in the movie. Less distracting. If they'd have just left a dude operating a marionette alongside, I would have been less distracted by that footage than the CGI China girl. Which is sad because the performance that Joey King gives is not bad for what it is.
The only time we ever see her on set is her in the wheelchair. The puppeteer is having her lines being fed into an earpiece, pre-recorded.
Her performance was fine. I mean, it wasn't the greatest performance ever, but like, especially for this movie, it was one of the better ones. And weirdly, it was better than Zach Braff's performance, and Zach Braff was apparently on set to give his lines. Zach Braff playing the flying monkey servant thing.
In a bellhop uniform? They never explained that.
I'm sure that it's a cross between the monkeys from the original movie and also the organ grinder monkey in the little bellhop uniform trope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I know that it's like probably some failed joke cross between the two of those. But yeah. And that monkey is so weird because I don't really know why the monkey's there other than it's like, well, we've got evil flying monkeys, and I guess
not even monkeys, baboons.
Like, is that just to get around? Like, did one of the lawyers say, like, you can't have evil flying monkeys work for the witch? That's our thing. And they were like, well, what if they're baboons? And they're like, okay, technically that's okay. We didn't copyright flying baboons.
So you can have a flying monkey as long as he's not a bad guy.
Yeah, or something. I don't know. And then like the second that he, well, not the second he falls out of the sky, because, like, the second he falls out of the sky, Oz runs into Mila Kunis, and I dare you to make it any longer than I did before you scream, "Shut up, Meg," at your screen.
Yes.
Because it's all you can think when you're watching this movie.
Mila Kunis as Alpha Theodora.
Alpha Theodora, yeah. They had to come up with a name for her, so they called her Theodora.
Rachel Weisz as Nessa Evanora, and their personalities are flipped. Spoiler from Wicked. Their personalities are flipped.
Also, the fact that they're sisters, not from the original books, that's from the movie. And then, of course, even more so from the novel Wicked. That just takes that idea and runs with it even further.
So yeah, the implication is that Theodora is the younger sister, and like I said, in Wicked, Nessa Rose is the younger sister.
I'm going to get all the spoilers for Wicked before I get to see the movie.
I mean, it's not that much. You've seen The Wizard of Oz, you know what happens.
Yeah, but I've never read or seen Wicked.
But yeah, we have Theodora, who believes in the prophecy that a great wizard named after their land will come from the sky and save them from the wicked witch.
Who's writing these prophecies?
The king, apparently. The king of Oz, whose daughter is Glinda. So they merged Glinda and Ozma into one character.
I don't know why. Also, like, I know that Glinda is supposed to be super annoying at the start of Wicked, but, like, most annoying Glinda award goes to this version of Glinda.
Very, I am good. I will keep the name of my father alive, and I will protect my people. It's also whatever voice Michelle is using in this movie. It's like she's trying to do the Glinda voice from the 39 movie, but you legally cannot do that voice. Oh, all you have to do is click your heels 3 times and say there's no place like home.
That was such a singular affectation of Billy Burke, you know?
Mm-hmm. They try to have her do like a mid-Atlantic accent and a faux British accent, and then she kind of drops it in private and does an American accent.
But also, I think she's trying to do that very old school golden age of Disney princess. Very Snow White, very, Princess Aurora, that kind of thing. The wide-eyed ingenue thing. Because she's, I think we're supposed to think that Theodora, originally, when we meet her, is supposed to be the really naive one who gets sucked in by Oz and is like, oh, I made fake flowers appear from my sleeve, let me ask you to dance, beautiful woman, We're supposed to think as a character that she's the pushover one. And then we meet Glinda, and I'm like, Theodora is worldly compared to Glinda in this movie.
But then she kind of goes, oh yeah, I knew you were a hack the moment I saw you.
Wicked kind of plays around with the, that like, okay, so Elphaba's not really the evil witch, and there's more going on than the, okay. But there has been that theory for like even longer, I think, than Wicked has been a novel, that like Glinda is like really the evil witch in the 39 movie.
You could have gone home anytime you want, but I had to push you into an adventure so you can kill my nemesis.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, she sees a teenage girl and she's like, let's turn this chick into an assassin, And in this one, Glinda's not quite that evil because she's like, oh no, we're all forbidden to kill, and she sticks to that, you know?
Yeah,
But
not that it's illegal to kill, it's just forbidden to kill. And that
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure that that's like really it's like a fine line without a distinction or something,
yeah.
whatever that phrase is. But the the thing is that in this, I think the thing that bothered me is that the morality of this movie is so immoral. Because I swear, you know, the whole thing about this is like Theodora meets the wizard, okay? The goofy and terrible.
Great and powerful.
And potato. But she meets him and she's like, there is a prophecy and you seem to fit that prophecy. I believe in you. I have fallen in love with you because you're the first guy who's ever been nice to me, and I'm gonna marry you, and we're gonna live happily ever after. And he's like, okay, you are moving way too fast for me, but you just said there was a huge pile of gold back at your castle or whatever. Also not from the book. Where the hell are they getting this? There is like a dragon's hoard worth of gold in the Emerald City.
I
You
guess
really do expect to see Smaug, like, jumping into it Scrooge McDuck style? I do not know what is going on here.
maybe it's just the king's treasure. I don't know.
But the thing is, like, this comes out of nowhere. There is no basis for this.
I think I think this is here to play up Oscar Diggs as a terrible person. Like he's doing this for money. He's
But
not.
the thing is that there's other stuff in the Emerald City, as in literally a city made of emeralds. He could just be, like, chiseling part of it off and taking it home with him. I'm just wondering, like, where the Scrooge McDuck vault came from in the writing of this movie. It is stupid, and I hate it.
And the fact that I mean, it's part of him being a jerk is that he tries the same flirtatious moves on her sister. Now, granted, like I said, he had just had a seemingly relationship with another man's wife, which got him into trouble to begin with. Now he's trying to pull this with two sisters.
Yeah, I mean, he's not a good person.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of the point. He comes in. I mean, he literally takes over someone else's kingdom by the end of this movie.
Yeah. So, yes, Theodore is moving a little too fast because it's like, okay, you're the first guy that's ever shown interest in me, and that must mean we're in love forever. Okay, somebody explain the world to this chick. Maybe slow your roll. But I kind of get it. She's met a guy who's like gonna fulfill a prophecy and stuff, and she's probably been told, some stuff about this prophecy from her sister or whatever, in her sister's guise as the good witch. So I can see where she's probably got a mixed up head about it. And then she finds out the guy is a fraud who, like, also put the moves on her sister. And then she finds out her sister is evil, and then her sister, like, doses her with who knows what.
Evil potion.
Yeah, with evil potion of evilness.
The ye old poison apple.
And we're supposed to go like, oh, wow, how horrible of her for not being on this dude's side. Like, okay, yeah, but he's awful. I'm not saying she should have immediately started committing war crimes, as Eisenhart points out, but like the fact that she goes like, screw that guy, he's a jerk.
She meets one guy, has her heart broken, and this starts her villain story. The Wicked Witch of the West becomes a villain because of a guy.
Do not like. So, you know, we meet Glinda, who has been banished because Rachel Weisz, the real Wicked Witch, killed Glinda's father, the previous king, and then told everybody that Glinda killed the king, and, you know, and oh no, she's a Wicked Witch, to banish her and whatever. But so they send, you know, Oz to go kill Glinda by snapping her wand of power. And Glinda's like, oh no, I'm not the Wicked Witch. The other chick is the Wicked Witch, and she really killed my father, and then she banished me, and boo-hoo-hoo. Oz, you know, after they're like attacked by the real Wicked Witch and everything, Oz is like, hey, I'm not really a wizard. I don't really have any magic. I'm a total fraud. And Glinda goes, yeah, that's okay. Just keep lying to the people. As long as they believe in you, it'll all be okay. Like, I know you're a complete douchebag. I know you have no power. I know you're lying to everybody, and I know you're only in this for yourself. But the important thing is that you make everybody believe your lie enough that they have hope.
The truth doesn't matter. All it matters is how you make people feel.
And if that is not the worst moral to a story in the history of ever, I would please like you to tell me what is. Like, never show your children this movie unless it's to show them that all of these are bad people and you should never be like them.
Like, the only quote-unquote good person in this movie is Theodora. And she is not, her sin, if you want to call it that, is being really, really naive about the world. And then she just turns evil because she had her heart broken by a guy.
Actually, her sin is believing her sister.
Okay, true.
And that's sad because, like, we are taught from the time we are little that you're supposed to trust and believe your family.
Why would my again, I'm going to go with how this movie is presenting these characters. Why would my older sister lie to me about the evil witch that killed our king? Why would she lie about the prophecy of the great wizard? Why would she do this? She is my sister. She is the good witch of Oz. Why would the good witch of Oz lie?
Yeah, and the thing is that as far as we know, her sister has always been nice to her. And if that's the only side of a person you ever see, if they're nice to you, it's very difficult to believe, you know? And she may have never heard that her sister was mean to anybody else.
She does keep this facade going up until Theodora goes green, and then they both become Saturday morning cartoon villains.
Yeah, it's like the movie is just like, okay, yeah, like, we're not even going to bother to have any sort of plan or forethought or anything. She's just like, yay, I gave you the evil potion of evilness. We can both be evil now. I don't.
Oh, side effect, your skin is green. I can fix that. No! Let him know this is what I truly look like. He did this to me. Shut up, Meg.
Yeah.
Mila Kunis cannot do an evil laugh to save her life. She can't.
It's everything she says just sounds like Meg Griffin in the because she doesn't do another voice. It's just her voice. Like she doesn't try to do another voice, and she doesn't try to do another voice for Meg Griffin either. Like it's just her voice.
I mean, there are some voices.
It's like H. John Benjamin. It's like
Kate Micucci. She's got one voice, and every character of her sounds the same.
Yeah, I mean, H. John Benjamin does have like 3 voices, but most of his characters are just, hit him. I'm not knocking that necessarily. I'm just saying that, she uses her own voice for both characters, and I mainly hear her voice as Meg Griffin. So all of a sudden, I see her like in green makeup and a long nose and a, weird chin and a pointy black hat.
Okay. I noticed this when I first saw the movie, and I made a comment on this when the movie first came out. Did we need green cleavage? Did we need the Wicked Witch to tear off part of her clothing and show cleavage and have green cleavage throughout the rest of the movie? Did we need sexy Wicked Witch?
I mean, that was probably just due to the casting of Mila Kunis.
Fair, but still.
I don't have any other explanation for that other than, And
you had mentioned this off mic when we were setting up here. There are weird scene transitions, mostly involving Theodora. Like when she first hears that Oz is with another woman, she starts crying. Oh, we have to put in the reference that water burns her. So her tears burn her face.
Yeah, she has scars now on her cheeks because she's, allergic to water or whatever.
Got to put that reference in here. Again, put that reference in here and then look at you. Look what pathetic girl you are, and then smashes the mirror, and it's like the most weird scene transition into whatever Oz and Glinda are doing.
Yeah, the thing I hate most is when she first turns green, it has to be introduced by like a zombie hand reveal.
They did a lot to hide what the witch looks like. Like, none of the trailers showed what she looked like other than that green arm. None of the promotional material showed only what she looked like as Theodora. I believe it was so because they wanted to save the grand reveal for the movie. And like you see her turn green, a flip of her hand and her clothes go from red to black. We only see her in shadow until that moment in freaking Munchkin Land because we have to reference that scene from the movie.
But my point is that once we get her transformation into the Wicked Witch, I mentioned this in Multiverse of Madness, is that there's a point where he forgets he's directing another movie and he goes like, oh yeah, I'm back on the set of Evil Dead again. And it happens in every freaking movie he directs. And in this, it hits at the point where she, goes green and turns into the Wicked Witch. And he starts being like, oh yeah, this would be the perfect time to just shove jump scares into this movie that has not had them until this moment.
The jump scares that were spoiled in the freaking trailer, like I said, the shot up of the green arm and scratching the table is in the trailer.
Well, no, but I mean, once you see her face, it pops out of the smoke at the camera. And this is when I started to wonder, because I was watching this with somebody else and they were like, was this movie made for 3D? Because this doesn't make sense unless somebody was trying to like do a 3D gimmick.
I mean, you could see a lot of it in the Kansas shot with a lot of the debris in the tornado fling at the camera.
Yeah, but I didn't get it that much until that point, because the thing is that stuff flying around in a tornado makes sense. Wicked Witch jump scares in a movie that has not been dependent on that sort of visual doesn't make sense. And the thing is, she does it like 3 times in a row. It's I guess I could live with it if it was just like, here's the reveal of her face, and she jumps out and goes, blah, look at me, I'm green and you got a nose and chin and stuff,
I'm evil.
Yeah, blah, I'm evil. But that's bad enough. But she jumps out of the smoke and she does the jump scare to Oz and Glinda. And then she turns around and it's another jump scare right in your face to like the villagers. And then she turns around and she does a third jump scare, again right to the camera, to scare the munchkins. Or whatever, because there's like 3 groups of people kind of standing around when she appears.
The Tinkerers, the Munchkins, and I forget what the third one was called.
But she does it like 3 times to all 3 groups, just so that she can like shove her face into the camera and be like, nah, did you see? Blah, I'm evil now, blah, Did you get the jump scare? Was everybody looking? You didn't look down at your phone or your popcorn or anything, right?
Do you understand that I'm evil now? Do you understand that I am the Wicked Witch of the West? Does the green skin not give it away? And whatever gruffy voice Mila Kunis is trying to give her?
That still just sounds like Meg Griffin. But the thing is that, and then later, they go through the whole like big fight or whatever, and they have the big fight outdoors with Oz doing his whole like, oh, my mortal self died, but now I'm a giant head in the smoke, like how we first meet him in the 1939 movie, That's not a bad scene. Seeing how he's taught the tinkerers and stuff and the townspeople how to build all these contraptions using stuff from our world to mimic magic and whatever. And it would be fine if the moral of the story hadn't been set up earlier as like, it's okay that you're lying to them. It's not that bad. I mean, he's kind of a con man, in the first movie, of course, but he kind of keeps to himself and he doesn't really meddle in their lives or anything. And he doesn't seem to have tried to do anything.
Yeah, he just sits in his little room and nobody sees the wizard. No way, no how.
Yeah. So in the movie, I mean, the book is different. Okay. I'm not really going to talk about that, but in the original movie that they're kind of taking this imagery from, he just kind of ended up there, bumbled there, and they were like, oh, you have technology we've never seen before. We're mistaking it for magic, and we're going to name you king. And he's like, oh, yeah, I am definitely not cut out for that job, so I'm just going to lock myself away in a room and let this place kind of run itself. You know? Like, let the people who know about this place run this place. And I'm just going to
I'm a
sit back.
figurehead. Quite literally a figurehead.
Yeah, I'm just going to sit back and not interfere. And the second he could get out of there, he got out of there. You know? And did as little damage as he possibly could. So, like, yeah, he's kind of a small-scale swindler, but when it came down to it, he did the absolute best he could to not do any damage.
I mean, he even straight up in that 39 film, when he's found out, he doesn't try to lie his way out. He said, yeah, I'm a humbug. I'm a charlatan. I am a liar. But I didn't hurt anybody.
Yeah.
I mean, except for the lady you killed, but that's a different thing entirely.
Well, I mean, he
did send him to do it.
Yeah. But that was also, like, kind of an accident.
He didn't think they'd survive.
Like, nobody knew about the water. They didn't say go through water on the witch.
Mm-hmm.
Like, in the 39 movie, that was, like, absolutely an accident on Dorothy's part. But in this one, like, at least originally, he's straight up trying to kill people. He's like, go kill a chick I've never met and you will give me, like, all of the gold? All right, that sounds fine.
Well, I don't want to kill anyone. I'll just steal her wand and break in if she won't have her magic powers anymore. That's good enough.
I mean, they do heavily imply in the movie that doing that will kill her. Whether it will or not, you know.
I mean, we see that if a magical artifact is destroyed, it does not necessarily kill the owner of said magical object.
That's the other thing that I take issue with Sam Raimi about, because it's a thing that he's got to do in all his movies. There's got to be an old wrinkled lady jump scare, because that to him is apparently the scariest thing in the world.
I was beautiful once. Lady, you got real ugly real fast.
Yeah.
There's your Evil Dead reference!
But, I mean, it's in every one of the Evil Dead movies. Like, it is in every horror movie he ever did. Even if it doesn't make sense. And in this one, it kind of barely makes sense. Like, there's no reason why taking away her power means that she's an old woman now.
It's foreshadowed early on. Like, when the Wicked Witch turns green, she says, I know a spell that can make you look as you were. So it's already given early that early in the movie that this is not what she normally looks like. It's a spell that she put on herself.
Okay, but, like, that would mean, like, either whoever Mila Kunis's, you know, mom and or dad was, like, she's only in her 30s and her sister is like 80 something, 90 something, 115 something, however old that creature is supposed to be. Because Mila Kunis doesn't seem like terribly worried about anything, you know? Until she turns green. And then she's like, oh no, I look awful now. Like, that's the only thing. I know what you're talking about, and I had thought of that, but then I was like, there's nothing to suggest that, like, Glinda's been knocking around for hundreds of years either, you know?
We don't know how long it's been since the king died. And are these two even sisters? Or is it also another magic spell that she's put on her to make her believe that, oh, we're sisters? Even though I look much, my, quote, natural form looks much older than you.
The younger people of Oz still seem to kind of remember the king.
Who knows?
I mean, yeah, there's the Tinkers Guild, who most of them are kind of old, but the people who bake bread and stuff like that seem to like, oh yeah, do we remember our wonderful king?
Mm-hmm.
So unless all of them are just really old and under a spell.
I mean, also,
this movie isn't very well thought out, is my point.
This movie was more concerned with hitting as many visual beats of the 1939 movie.
Or random jump scares of a horror movie.
Like, okay, she needs to be green at this point. She needs to get the broom. And that
broom needs a tune-up. It is leaking exhaust fumes like you wouldn't believe.
I mean, that's the way it was in the 39 movie as well.
Except it let out like white or gray smoke, and this is just absolutely just black.
I think that's another one. It does shed black when the surrender Dorothy scene. But I think it's another one of the, her broom can let out smoke, but it can't be this color, or this color. So they go with black. And again, that's another aspect of the witch, is that everything that makes the Wicked Witch is because of a man. She's green because she got heartbroken by a man. She dresses like a stereotypical witch because this man told her that's what witches dress like. She rides a broom because this man told her that's what witches do. They ride on broomsticks. Even looking him in the face and said, "It was a broom you wanted me to ride on, wasn't it?"
Yeah, I hate everything about this movie.
The point of this movie, and a lot of the bad parts of this movie, is... I don't know the official term for it, but male savior seems to just go in my brain.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like, yeah, they follow his plan, and he does end up saving the day with all of his knowledge from our world, which he got from the greatest wizard of our world, Thomas Edison, because of course this douchebag worships Thomas Edison.
He learns how to make flash powder. It's not necessarily gunpowder. It's flash powder.
Well, he does say he's teaching him how to make black powder at one point. So yeah, basically the same thing.
Yeah. So he makes fireworks. It's all illusion and trickery to make the people believe that he has real magic. The thing about it is, what made the original Wizard of Oz, the character, in either version of either the books or the movies, is that nobody knew that he was a fraud. In this movie, seemingly everyone knows he is a fraud, and they're okay with him being a fraud as long as they make him feel a certain way, because he has the Munchkins and the Tinkerers and the Sewers and Glinda and the monkey and the China Girl and people in Oz, in the Emerald City Underground, as they call themselves, are all working together to give this charade that he is an actual magical being that transcended mortal form.
Yeah, not liking it.
I think we're done with this movie.
Yeah.
That's the movie. Is that, everything we did, that's the movie. And then at the end of the movie, we get the happy ending where they try to, again, recreate the scene from the 39 movie. Here are your gifts. But because he's an open fraud, I'm not going to give you representations of the things you want. I'm just going to give you whatever's in my pocket. Oh, Tinkerer, here's my pocket knife screwdriver thing that you can use to build. Oh, yeah, he's going to build a Tin Man, I think.
No, he gives them things that make them either more useful to him or more indebted to him. Okay, in the first movie, in the Judy Garland movie, he gives them the things that they were looking for, representations, by saying, like, I didn't really have to give it to you. It was kind of inside you all along. But to help you remember that, I will give you a token to remind you that you always had it. So, here is a diploma to remind you that you're really smart. Here is a medal to remind you that you have courage. Here is a watch that ticks like a heart to remind you that you have a heart. That's the thing. It's physical representations of an inner thing. In this movie, the monkey is an accidental sycophant because the monkey was so thankful for him, quote unquote, saving him from the lion.
The lion.
Yeah.
The cowardly lion.
The cowardly lion who tried to eat the monkey at the beginning of the movie, and accidentally Oz saves the monkey.
So the wizard gave this lion PTSD, which made him a coward.
Yeah, it was like he, flashbang powder, or whatever, and that scared the lion so much. He was, yeah. Poor lion. But the monkey was so grateful, he immediately swore a life debt. Because he's a Wookiee, apparently.
Yeah. And it's like, you can't take back a life debt, can't you? No, I can't. Oh, yeah, I'm a fraud. God damn it.
Yeah. I mean, the monkey is so mad. He's like, you couldn't have told me that before I did that. The monkey is actually really mad. Because he's like, I only swore the life debt because I thought you were the wizard. And so at the end of the movie, he's like, oh, monkey, I give you my friendship. And the monkey's like, yeah, that's all I ever wanted. No, that's not what the monkey wanted. Like, the monkey probably wanted to be free of the life debt, Thank you. You also saved my life. There, life debt completed. That would have been a better gift. He gives the possibly the worst thing, and maybe this is just a woman's perspective. Possibly the worst gift he gives the herald guy that's been following around. His name is Nuck.
Yeah. He calls him Sourpuss because he's always frowning. He's apparently the leader of the Emerald City Underground.
Yeah, but he's also the herald of Emerald City. Mad respect. Herald the Herald. The guy isn't a sourpuss. The guy isn't frowning. He's just serious, He's got resting stern face, And he gives him this little paper clown smile on a stick.
Probably from the circus.
Yeah, probably from the circus. It's just a thing he's got in his pocket. And he's like, there, you look so much better with a smile. And everybody else is like, yeah, you do look better with a smile. And I guess it's just, as a woman, that really annoyed me, because, like...
Hey, Munchkin, you should smile more.
Yeah. Here's a hint. Go tell a woman to smile, if you want to die.
Especially now.
Yeah. I mean, especially ever, but, like, super especially now. But, like... I mean, that dude is immediately like, oh, you've effed around and you're about to find out, wizard. And
like, he could have at least called him by his name, because he calls the monkey by his name at the end of the movie. But he just keeps on calling this guy Sourpuss.
Yeah, and the guy, even up to the end of the movie, is like, my name is Nuck. Like, you will call me by my name. And, like, he never calls the guy by his name. The China girl, like, I don't really know what you're supposed to do with that, because her family is dead and he can't bring them back. So, like, the best he can do is be like, hey, we're your found family. And, like, he sucks, but the rest of the people are okay. The monkey and Nuck and Glinda and the Master Tinker guy are okay people. You know, like, if they're gonna be her found family, then okay. That's it's not a bad group, you know? And then he gives the Tinker, like, his, like, pocket knife thing, multi-tool, and he's like, there, it'll help you keep the Emerald City up to snuff or whatever. And it's like, okay, yay, but, like, you literally just, like, gave me a thing to, like, do my, it's like, here, be better at your job.
He's gonna go build a tin fire chipper.
Yeah.
And yeah, we even get the freaking origin of the Scarecrow in here, because that's what they make to make it look like they have an army. They build scarecrows.
Yeah, they build these, like, mechanical scarecrows, yeah. And then they're like, you better have a present for Glinda, like the monkey and the China
Yeah,
girl
Dorothy
especially
next.
are like, you
Dorothy
better,
next. Where's Dorothy's present?
yeah. They're like, you better have a present for Glinda. She almost died because of you, you douche. Like, and so, like, he takes her behind the curtain to, like, give her a tour, and of course, like, he just kisses her, which, like, how's that a present for her? That's just something you wanted, dude. I don't think that's what she wanted. She did not really seem that into you for this entire movie. Not really any chemistry.
But because this is a movie and they're a male-female lead, they, yeah.
Now, there was supposed to be a sequel to this movie that, thank everything good in the universe, never happened, where they were going to have a daughter.
Yes, they were going to have a daughter named Olivia. And their daughter would find out that she had this weird magic spell put on her, and that's all we know. That is literally all we know of what the sequel would have been. We know that Sam Raimi would not have returned. He did not want to do a sequel.
Well, that would have made this movie approximately 5,000 times better.
Again, it's possible that he did not have a good time filming this movie.
I kind of hope he didn't. That would have made me feel better.
I mean, dealing with Disney, dealing with, according to rumors, Franco's supposed unprofessionalism on set. And like I said, they kind of never worked again together, possibly because of whatever happened during making this movie.
Yeah, but you were the reason he was on this movie, dude. So, not really gonna have a lot of empathy.
Yeah. Yeah, this movie made money. This movie made money, but it had such poor reviews that Disney didn't even want to touch this anymore. Like, they put so much into advertising this movie and trying to get people to care about this movie, and like, this is the real deal, the real prequel to The Wizard of Oz. Don't go to New York and watch that show. This is the real deal right here.
Yeah, don't go watch anything with catchy songs and, like, really good actors and, like, great stagecraft and
Oh,
cool
by the way,
costumes.
Disney, you're gonna end up calling the star of that stage show to be your next princess.
Yeah,
Let it go.
I'll never let it go. Not as long as they keep letting this man direct movies.
But yeah, this was Disney's answer to Wicked. This was their Oz prequel that they had to get out before Universal got theirs out. And 10 years later, here we are.
I mean, they did do one thing.
Mhm.
They did get theirs out before Universal got there.
We almost had it, from my understanding, it would have been out in 2020, but Universal thought it was a really, really good idea to get Cats out first.
I really do not know how to respond to that.
So yeah, we could have had the Wicked movie a lot earlier if they didn't make Cats.
I mean, I'd love to live in a world where they never made Cats. The stage play.
But as for this movie, does it have the magic? No.
No. God, no.
This is not a good movie. The idea of this is Oz before Dorothy. Yeah, it's been handled better. You know, it was handled better by Steven Schwartz. It was handled better by Gregory Maguire, and not by Sam Raimi, and not by Disney.
Yeah.
The thing is, Disney would chase that wicked popularity for a while. They never could get the rights to Wicked, so they're going to make their own Wicked. They tried it with this movie. They tried it with Frozen. They tried it with Maleficent. They tried it with Cruella. Ain't working, guys. Let's stop with movies based on classic stories where we're trying to show the female villain wasn't that bad after all.
I mean, Frozen was awesome, though, kinda.
Frozen was awesome, and we did like Cruella. We haven't talked about Maleficent yet, but my point still stands, is Disney still trying to chase after the popularity of Wicked, and they should stop.
Yeah. Although, if they ever want to make a sequel to Return to Oz, like grown-up Fairuza Balk, middle-aged Dorothy, you know?
Possible. I wouldn't be against.
Just go like 100% absolute crazy beans with it.
I mean, the Bombs Oz books are all in the public domain. Go wild, do whatever you want with them.
Yeah. I mean, I would absolutely be down for a sequel to that movie with the same creative people. Like, if it was the same creative team, if it was Fairuza Balk, if it was, Brian Henson,
Yeah.
that would be incredible.
So
but yeah, stuff like this, don't do it.
Yeah,
especially not with Sam Raimi.
Hopefully Wicked the movie is actually good.
Yeah, we're really hoping Wicked the movie is actually good.
Because don't make this the better Oz sequel.
Oh God, no.
Anyway, let's go on to next week. Next week is our anniversary episode. I believe it is our 5th anniversary episode. And we've kind of been setting this up since the beginning of the year. And I think it's time we finally did it. We are wrapping up the series, wrapping up the trilogy, wrapping up the entirety of the Fox X-Men universe. Our anniversary episode next week, Deadpool and Wolverine.
Sorry, kids, take another week off.
Come back for Christmas.
Yeah.
So come back next week for Deadpool and Wolverine, and we will talk to you all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Don't let the magic stop here.
Keep the conversation going. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads at Rewatching the Magic.
We are also on Blue Sky, rewatchingthemagic.bsky.social. And new episodes are available every Monday at rewatchingthemagic.podbean.com. Remember, the magic is for everyone.
It only stops if you let it.
We know that right now, things are tough.
But in the words of Jim Henson, the only way the magic works is by hard work. But hard work can be fun.
Check out our show notes for ways that you can help.